folks, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Natasha and I do book things here. Today's video is going to be my contemporary book recommendations. I have 16 different books here today to talk about. A bunch of them are in different categories as well, and this is just going to go up before Contemporary-A-thon, so if you guys are still sort of making your TBRs, you can, I don't know, maybe check out some of the books that I'm going to recommend to you. So I will have my own contemporary TBR coming out shortly, as well as in that I want to include contemporary channels. Any booktubers that talk a little bit more about contemporary books, I want to include that there, but I do want this to be sort of a shout out to you guys to let me know of anybody who talks a lot about contemporary other than sort of like me and Chelsea. Chelsea, I feel like, is pretty much 99% contemporary books over on her channel, but I'm trying to learn about and find new people to watch and new people to recommend. So if you know any of them, please leave me some people to watch down in the comments below, and then I'm gonna watch everybody and sort of compile like my list of people who talk about contemporary. So please let me know, and I would just like to spread the love that way. So I scoured my shelves today to find you guys like my top sort of 16 books to recommend. They are broken down into different categories. I did want to go through the challenges, but then I realized a lot of them were sort of subjective to like what you have in your bookshelves. So like pink on the cover, I didn't really have too many with pink on the cover. Same thing goes for like, you know, hyped contemporary or you most recently acquired, that kind of thing. So what I actually did was I broke it down into a couple different categories just based on what I have. I have one here that is one of my favorite lighthearted contemporary authors. I have darker contemporary authors. I have dark contemporaries to recommend. I have diverse contemporaries to recommend, and just other ones that I just like. So I'm going to start with one of my favorite contemporary authors and 3 books that you guys can check out from that author. That is Morgan Matson. So she's written Amy and Roger's Epic Detour. This is my absolute favorite road trip novel to date. I just adore this book. I've talked about this quite a bit. It's just like a feel-good road trip novel, and the formatting is just the cutest. There's a nice romance in it. It's adorable, and I friggin' liked it. And this is what I read first from her and started my love for her writing. And then I read Second Chance Summer. This is a little bit sadder. I will warn you, if you want to cry, and I'm talking like ugly cry, snot out of your face cry like I did, this one this one does it. This is about a girl whose father is dying from cancer, and they kind of have a last sort of summer together, and my god, did I cry. I'm crying just thinking about it. Like, I'm just like, whew, like it's emotional, and you know that the book is leading up to that moment, and yeah, it doesn't make it any less impactful, let me tell you. So yeah, if you want one that's going to make you cry, this one. It's still written beautifully though, so there's that. And then the other one of hers that I also love, each one of these were 5-star books by the way, is Since You've Been Gone. This one is a teenager who's following a list of things that her friend has left for her to do, but it's not cheesy like following a list kind of book. Like, they switch it up and she does things on the list a little differently than what the list tells her to do, kind of thing. I just got so much more out of this than what I expected, and I loved it. So she does have one book in my shelves that I haven't read yet, The Unexpected, is that what it's called? The Unexpected Everything. I haven't gotten to that yet. I'm saving it kind of for like a warmer summer read. But these 3 at least each got 5 stars for me, and I think depending on your mood, if you want 2 sort of lighthearted ones and one that's going to make you cry, I recommend all 3 of these. So next is an author who writes darker stuff, totally different, and massive trigger warnings for everything in all of her work, and that is Karen Slaughter. So I have both Pretty Girls and The Good Daughter. Both of these are like thrillery mystery books, but let me tell you, like, both of these had me genuinely like scared. I want to say scared, but like shook and like upset, I guess. Pretty Girls especially was just like, took me through an absolute ride. Like, there's a couple twists in this that I just went, what? And like I have to keep reading the book to find out what happened. The Good Daughter starts off very strong, then has about 300 pages of character building and then ends really strong, but both of these have scenes in them that like I've never read in another like thriller book ever, and it makes me just wonder like where Karen Slaughter's mind is even at. Like that's how twisted some of the stuff is in these books. So if you're looking for like a truly like dark, twisted, like I said, trigger warnings for absolutely everything, like murder, sexual assault, rape, torture, like just name it, it's in this. But if you're into like that dark, creepy shit like I am sometimes, then Karen Slaughter is a definite good author to start with, at least with these two books. I know she has a couple of series that are like, I don't know, 27 books long, you know, but like definitely start with these ones. These ones are standalones, and both of them are real creepy, like really disturbing. I do have two more dark recommendations for you. The first one is All the Ugly and Wonderful Things by Bryn Greenwood. This is dark in the subject matter. This discusses basically a pedophilic relationship and how that progresses, and if this book doesn't make you think and feel a certain way about that relationship, then just, yeah, it's more of a book that really makes you think. So if that's the kind of contemporary that you're into, then maybe check this one out. But again, trigger warning for stuff with that one as well. And then the last one that's dark but in a different way, a little bit less murder, there's still some murder but less, is The Girl in 6E by A.R. Torr. This one is more of like an erotic thriller. The main girl in this is a cam girl, and she has murderous tendencies and how she sort of like deals with that. And so there is a little bit of you know, murdery kind of stuff going on. Is the talks of the way that her brain works psychologically and why she's like this and why she sort of locked herself in her apartment and all that stuff. This is really good. I highly suggest the first book and the second one. I have not read the third one yet, but it is in my contemporary TBR to read that. Up next I have 4 diverse contemporaries. I like reading from cultures other than my own, and so these are some of the books that I really liked, and I'll tell you guys why. The first one that I'm going to recommend is Love, Hate, and Other Filters. I just read this and this was a 5-star book for me. This is all about a teenage girl who is dealing with Islamophobia in her community and like for her family, and is dealing with some violence from that. But there's also a really well written bunch of like love interest in this, and she is just an amazingly well written character, and so I do really suggest this. This made me cry on 2 different occasions, and then definitely if you get this book, read the author note, because the author note made me cry again. This one deals with the Black Lives Matter movement, and the main character Star sees her friend become a victim of police brutality and how that affects her community and herself, and trying to find her own voice. Looking for 2 books where I feel like the stories are just both very impactful and important, I suggest Love, Hate, and Other Filters and The Hate U Give, both of which I believe are now on the bestsellers list, I want to say. Both of these, which are completely well-deserved in my opinion. Both of them are amazing. So another one that I really liked is When Dimple Met Rishi, and this one is just a really nice contemporary love story between 2 Indian teenagers. They're thinking about arranged marriages and what that means for them, and yeah, she is just a nice, like, strong character as well. I liked it. It was very cute. I really liked the relationship between her and her parents as well, which is cute. So I do suggest this. This one is a lot more light-hearted than the other 2. And then the last one that I'll recommend is Erotic Stories for Punjabi Widows. This book was just a surprise to me completely. Like, I went into it with a certain idea of what it was going to be, but then it was just like so many more things. This follows a young woman who is teaching English at her temple, and she's supposed to teach English to these widows, but instead the widows decide to write erotic stories stories, and they're very erotic stories, and they're very taboo for their culture, and the men in the community aren't supposed to know. And then there's also this like mystery element into the story as well, and like they're dealing with that. It's really, really fascinating, and I love the discussion of what arranged marriages and being a widow means to a younger generation and an older generation, and it's just very, very, very interesting, and I want more people to read this book because I loved it. If you want a book that talks heavily about Indian food and Indian desserts, it's this one, because I immediately went and got like gulab jamuns and jalebis from like my local place because I was just like dying to eat food after I read this book. So yeah, I love this one and do recommend it. So up next I have two books that talk heavily about friendship, which is what I love to read about, is like close-knit friendships. I think that's just something that I love out of contemporaries. So I have these two. Also, there is a lot of representation in terms of different sexualities and preferences all throughout the LGBTQIA+ range, and so these two are both awesome for that. I'm sure you guys know what these are by now, but my first one that I have to recommend is Dress Codes for Small Town. This is probably the book that I recommend to you guys the most. I love all of these books for a lot of different reasons, but this one to me just sort of hit close to me. Like, I just really, really like this book. This follows the story of Billy, who's growing up in a small town. Her parents are religious, and she has this close-knit group of friends called the Hexagon, and she's sort of realizing what it means to be in love with like multiple friends and what platonic love is, and the small town discussions are so accurate to what I grew up with, and I just love this book. Love, love, love it. So good. I love it. And then the other one that I read just recently, but is up there with Dress Codes for Small Towns, I think, in terms of friendship and what that means exactly. That is Radio Silence by Alice Oseman. This book absolutely blew me away. It is just so amazing. This follows Frances, who's doing art for a podcast. I love the art discussions in this, and what this book felt to me was like literally just like modern day teenage life, and like it's just written so just like it's like you just took like a bird's eye view into someone's life right now and just boom, put it in a book. It felt real. There were funny parts of it. There were like really heartbreaking parts of it. The parents were written really well, and just how the friendship happens in this book is just beautiful, and I just absolutely loved it. It was gorgeous in so many ways. There's a lot of layers to this that all work really, really seamlessly together, and again, I suggest this right up with Dress Codes for Small Towns. Yeah, absolutely love this. The next three that I have, I can't really categorize in any sort of way. They didn't really fit in with the other ones, but I like them just the same. What I have here is Eleanor Oliphant is Completely Fine. This one just follows Eleanor, who's really an eccentric character. There's a little bit of darkness in this one as well. I feel like it's sort of a mix between like a lighthearted character development and then also sort of a darker book. But this one just took me through a ride because I loved the way that her character progressed through the story, and she's definitely like truly an eccentric because of what happened to her in her past, and it was just a very interesting adult contemporary book to read, and I really liked it, so I'm going to suggest this one to you guys as well. Next one is a graphic novel, which I think that everyone should read, especially if you know someone in your life who has hearing loss. Hi, hello, I have hearing loss, so now you do. This one is just absolutely gorgeous. This is a middle grade graphic novel about a bunny who gets meningitis and then loses her hearing and gets like a hearing device and what that means for her growing up with that. This book made me cry consistently from page 1 right through to the end. I've never seen certain aspects of hearing loss depicted in a book as well as this does, and yeah, so this one is just sort of like an emotional one for me, but it's also just really, really beautiful, and like the artwork is super cute, and this would be great for kids, great for adults. It's just great. I suggest it. And then the last book that I have to talk about today, I'm not going to talk about long because I'm pretty sure Chelsea's video is just going to be 20 minutes of her screaming about this book, is The Hating Game by Sally Thorne. This is my perfect recommendation if you want an amazing adult contemporary love story, hate to love romance. The romance in this is amazing. The sexy time in this is amazing. It is just worth it. It's worth it. Read it. Chelsea talks about this all the time. I read it because of her. I loved it and I want to reread this soon. So yeah, those are all of my recommendations for contemporary books. I do hope you guys will check some of these out if you haven't already. Let me know, as always, down below which contemporary books you recommend as well. That way, if anyone's coming to this video, they can see some comments of some other things. Yeah, I do hope you guys like this video, and until my next one, I will talk to all of you soon. Bye!